Hello and welcome to the Futures Lab. So far in our project, we've been using the spacebar to call a question. We're going to fix that this session so that the questions are automatically called each time after you've answered one. And we're also going to put in a point system that keeps track of how many questions you've answered and how many questions you've answered correctly. So first of all, let's go to our Gameshow host sprite. We're going to make some changes to this code. So we've got our when space key pressed, ask new question. Drag that ask new question and put it underneath this block of code here, where we've got when green flag clicked, and this is a bunch of stuff that happens at the beginning of the game. It loads our lists full of our answers and our questions, and it runs the explain the game code. And now on the very bottom, after explain the game, we're going to have ask new question. We can get rid of the when space pressed, and we're also going to, while we're here, we're going to put in a wait 1 second. So we're going to go across to control, the orange category, pull out wait 1 second. This is going to go inside the define ask new question, and we're going to put that right above broadcast display possible answers, so that when the question is asked, first the question displays and then 1 second later the answers display. That's going to just look a bit more natural. It's going to give the player of the game chance to read the question before they see the answers and have to decide on those. Just kind of good visual design. Okay, so that's all good. So now what we need to do, now you might have noticed that we've got these broadcast correct and broadcast incorrect. We are going to do some more stuff with those broadcasts. We're going to do something, we're going to create a new sprite, and this is going to be our point keeper sprite. So in the bottom right corner of the screen, click on that choose a sprite little cat face right here. And then we're going to look for button 4, which you should see right here. It's this little green tick. So we're going to name this sprite. We're going to delete where it says button 4, and we're going to rename it point keeper, because it's going to keep track of all of our points. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to costumes in the top left corner. Now you should see on the left side we've got a green tick and a black tick. We're going to just delete that black tick, but we're going to keep the green tick. And then the bottom left corner, click on choose a costume. Now we're looking for a red cross, a red X. It's called button 5B. So you can look for it, or you can type in button and then it'll come up just here. All right, so now we've got this nice green tick and this red cross. We're going to rename these costumes just so we know what they do. So let's rename the red cross button as incorrect. This costume up here in the top left corner where I'm wiggling my mouse. And we're going to do the same thing for the green tick. We're going to name this correct. All right, so we've got our two costumes, our correct costume and our incorrect costume. Now, in addition to keeping track of the points, we're going to make this appear in the middle of the screen and kind of get bigger for a little bit. And it'll just be this nice visual kind of tick or cross that appears. And we're even going to put in a little sound effect as well. So speaking of which, let's get those sound effects for when we get questions correct or incorrect. So the top left corner, click on sounds. You should just have just one sound, and that's pop. We're going to delete that pop sound effect. Now you can choose whichever sounds you like. Bottom left corner, click on choose a sound. But the ones that I like are called bonk and connect. Where's connect gone? Might have missed it. Here we go. There we go. So I like connect and bonk. So we can rename these if we want. I'm going to say that connect is the correct sound effect and the bonk is the incorrect sound effect. But for now, I'm going to leave them as they are, just so that it's easy to find those sound effects again. If you need to, you'll know what their names are. Okay, so we're going to put some code into our point keeper sprite. So this little tick here is going to start off in the middle of the screen. It's going to be hidden. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to events. We're going to pull out when green flag clicked. Make this nice and big so you guys can see it. Okay. We're going to go to looks, the purple category. We're going to pull out a hide to make sure at the beginning of the game it disappears. We want it to go to the middle of the screen. So go to the dark blue category motion and pull out go to X and then a number, Y and then a number. So I'm actually going to set the X to 0, which is the middle of the screen. And then I'm going to set the Y to -50 so that it's a bit lower on the screen, so that it kind of goes about here. So that it's kind of right underneath the host. It's not right over the host's face, the Gameshow host. I quite like where that is. We also need to make sure that this sprite is in front of all the other sprites. So go to looks, the purple category, and pull out go to front layer and put that on the bottom there. Now we're going to make 2 variables, and these variables are going to keep track of how many questions you've answered and how many questions you've answered correctly. So let's go to variables, the orange category, top left corner, click on make a variable. The first one we're going to make is called questions answered, and then press OK. Make sure it's for all sprites, and then click on make a variable again, and we're going to have answered correctly. So this is going to be the number of questions answered and the number of questions answered correctly. So you can name these a little bit differently if you want it to be a bit more clear. I'm choosing some short names so they're easier to see. So we're going to grab out set answered correctly to 0. I'm going to put that right underneath when green flag clicked. I don't think it matters too much if you put it on the bottom, but just in case, I want to make sure this variable is updated when the game starts at the very beginning before it does anything else. And then we're going to get out set variable, but we're going to change the variable to questions answered to 0. So we've got set answered correctly to 0, set questions answered to 0. All right, looks good. Let's go downwards and put some more code for when we receive correct. So we're going to go to events and pull out when I receive. This is the broadcast, and it's the broadcast that gets sent out when we answer a question and we've answered the question correctly. So click on this white triangle and change it to when I receive correct. So what we're going to do is this tick, as I said before, I want it to be nice and big and get even bigger. So let's go to looks, the purple category, and let's get out set size to 100%. Click on that 100 and type in 200. I want this to be a nice big chunky tick that takes up a lot of the screen. And we're also going to switch costume to correct. We want it to be that tick and not the cross. Okay, And then we're going to pull out show. And then underneath that, we're going to start sound. So we're going to go to sound, the purple pinkish category. Now you could say play sound until done, but we actually want some stuff to happen as the sound is playing. We don't want the sound to play and then the code to proceed. So instead, we're going to get out start sound connect. That's the sound that we want to play for when we're correct, the happy sound. Then we're going to go to variables, and we're going to pull out change answered correctly by 1. So when we've answered a question correctly, it's going to add 1 to that variable. It's going to keep count of how many questions we've answered correctly. But we also need to pull out a change variable, and the variable that we want to change is questions answered by 1. And that way, no matter how long your quiz is, it will keep an accurate count of the number of questions you've answered and the number of questions you got right. Okay, so now we're going to make a little visual effect where the tick gets big and it sort of grows, zooms in on the screen. We're going to go to control, the orange category, and we're going to get out repeat 10, put that on the bottom, and then we're going to change it to repeat 15. And then we're going to go to looks, the dark purple category, and pull out change size by 10. This is going to make the tick or the cross sort of go whoop like that. And then we want it to disappear. So put a hide on the bottom there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to control. We're going to pull out a wait 1 seconds. And then we're going to go to events. And underneath our wait 1 seconds, we're going to broadcast, a new broadcast. So we're going to click on that white triangle, and we're going to click on new message, and this new message is going to be load new question. Okay. So this new broadcast is going to make some code happen in the Gameshow host, and we're going to be able to use our code that says ask new question in that broadcast. Let's zoom out for a bit. Let's just see what this code does in our point keeper. When I receive correct, make sure that you're a tick, set your size to a certain size, make yourself seen with show, then play a nice happy sound, update your variables so you know how many questions you've answered and how many questions you've answered correctly, do that visual effect, repeat 15, change size by 10, zoom in on the player, and then hide again so that it's gone and the game can continue. Wait 1 second, and then broadcast a new broadcast that we haven't used yet called load new question. So we need to do this again for when I receive incorrect, but very little of this needs to change. So what I want you to do is right click on the when I receive correct. Right click on that, and then normal click on duplicate. And just put this to the side. Now there's not much we need to change here, but let's go through it line by line. So we're going to click on that when I receive and change it to when I receive incorrect, which means we need to switch the costume to incorrect. We need to start the sound of bonk. We need to drag this bit of code downwards because we need to take this change answered correctly and throw it out. Change answered questions answered by 1. We didn't answer it correctly, so we're not changing answered correctly by 1. This is all fine, and that's all fine. The rest of it can stay the same. There we go, nice and easy. So now, if we click on one of these and answer the question, I think it will work. There we go. It played the sound. Now it probably won't work for you because, well, it might work for you. I had a question ready to go in mine. The code that we did earlier was to pull out that ability to call new questions. Oh, I think actually no, we do have the code in to summon one question at the beginning of the game. Yes, that should be fine. So you should be able to test that at that point. But if it's not working, just keep going because we've got some more code to put in. So speaking of which, we're going to go to the Gameshow host. And we're going to put some more code inside the Gameshow host. Right. So far, we have got our ask new question my block. And this is only used once here after our explain the game code runs. So what we need to do is we need to have something that responds to this new broadcast we made. That new broadcast we called load new question. So let's pull out when I receive, and let's click on that white triangle and change it to when I receive load new question. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on looks, the purple category. We're going to grab a switch costume and we're going to switch our costume to talking 1 because our game show host either looks happy or grumpy depending if you get the question correct or incorrect. So we're going to change the costume back to just normal talking. And then what we're going to do is we are going to go to My Blocks, the red category on the left side, and click on Make a Block. We're going to make a block called Delete Old Question. So currently, the game will keep asking us the same questions over and over and over again. So we're going to put some stuff inside define delete old question in a bit, but not just now. So for now, what we're going to do is we're going to get delete old question and put it underneath this when I receive load new question, switch costume to talking 1. So we're going to delete our old question. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to control and we're going to pull out an if then else. Because if we're deleting the old questions, then eventually we're going to run out of questions. And we need the game to do something once you've run out of questions. So how do we figure out when we've run out of questions? Do you remember where all of our information for our questions is stored? It's stored in these lists that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to operators, the green category. We're going to pull out a more than operator. It's this one here. It's 6 from the top. The arrow is pointing towards the right. This more than operator. We're going to go to variables and we're going to look down to our list codes, this very dark orange, and we're going to pull out length of answer 1. So we've got our 4 lists, and our 4 lists all work together and they all sort of form part of a table. So it doesn't actually matter which list we're checking, because when one of the lists is empty, all of the lists should be empty. So we're just going to leave it on length of answer 1, but it shouldn't matter too much. And we're going to say more than 0, which means 1 or more than 1. So if we have at least one question, we want to ask a question, don't we? Now, it just so happens we've already made a function, a my block, that asks a new question. So this is one of those perfect examples where we go to my blocks and we pull out ask new question, and we put it right underneath the if. So we're going to leave blank the else for now. So if we run out of questions, it'll probably just do nothing for now. But we're going to cover in a future lesson what should happen once you've run out of questions to answer. What we need to do now is we need to make sure that our delete old question code works. So go and find your define delete old question, and we're going to put some code underneath it. So we're going to go to variables, and we're going to look down for our list codes, those dark orange codes. We're going to look for delete one of answer one. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we are deleting the current question, the one that's been asked. So we're going to go to we're going to go up a little bit, and we're going to look for current question. Do you see that sort of rounded current question? We're going to drag that out and put that over the one. So now it's going to say delete current question of answer one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to right click on the delete and duplicate again and duplicate again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make it so that all four of our lists are here. So the first one is answer one, the second one is answer two, the third one is questions, and the fourth one is real answers, or something like that. So now we're going to have this number. The number is our current question, and that number is going to look in all of our lists and it's going to say, which question are we asking? Oh, we're asking question number 3. And question number 3 is, what is the strongest pickaxe in Minecraft? And we've got gold as answer 1, diamond as answer 2, and the real answer is, of course, 2, meaning answer 2, diamond. So it's going to then delete all of these entries in our lists. So let's see if it works, shall we? So we ran our code and it summoned a question for us. So what is Spider-Man's real name? All right, let's click on the correct answer, which is Miles Morales. Click on that. There we go, and you're totally right. We've got our cool point keeper graphic came up, and look at this variable in the top left corner. Our questions answered is 1, and our questions answered correctly is 1. All right, so let's, what is the strongest pickaxe in Minecraft? Well, let's answer it incorrectly. Let's click on gold. And you're totally wrong. And you can see questions answered has gone up to 2, but questions answered correctly has gone up to 1. Now, let's have a look at our lists. Can you see what's happened? All of the questions that we've asked already have been deleted from our lists, so that when it's pulling new questions, it's not pulling from the ones we've already asked, it's deleting them. So then our final question is, who is Santa's brother in Undertale? And I'll even show you what this looks like by, if I click on, let's say, the correct answer, and then I show you the lists. You can see what happens is right there, you probably saw it, happened at the end, it just deleted that last entry in all of our 4 lists. And the code has stopped because there's nothing under what happens if we run out of questions. That's enough for this week though. Next week we're going to probably be finishing off this game, unless there's something else that occurs to me, or something else that you ask for us to do in this project. So pretty happy with how it's coming along. We've had a few people saying that the quiz is too easy so far, so comment in this YouTube video with what sorts of questions you'd like me to add to this quiz, and I'll give you a little shout out if I like your question. And so yeah, put in the questions and then the 2 possible answers that you think would make a good quiz question. If I like them and I see them in time, then I'll put them into the project. So aside from that, You can always subscribe to see the next episode, ring the bell, all of that typical stuff, so that you can see future projects. Until I see you guys next time, remember to stay awesome, be cool to each other, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week, ninjas.